Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Renaissance Center chat. This evening, we're going to talk about something that we can all relate to, and that's stress. And tonight, we're going to discuss, how we can reduce or minimize our stress. So we are so grateful that you are here with us this evening, and we have a special guest that is going to help us navigate us through some of the stressors that we have in our lives. We know stress is a normal part of life, but we're thankful that we will have Dr. Sharon Thomas Parker join us to help us as we discuss, uh, everything that's stress and stress related. And Um, again, thank you for joining the Renaissance Center chat, and we will get started. So feel free to put your questions in the chat because we want to answer the questions that you may have. While we have our own questions, we're going to be discussing. We're here to help you get through what you're going through. So thanks, Dr. Sharon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm currently a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I have a number of different jobs and duties and responsibilities at a lot of different clinics. And I supervise interns, so people who are coming into the field. I've been working in the field of counseling now as a therapist probably for the last 10 years almost.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your expertise. And Sharon's one of those people that have, like, besides the LCPC, she has about 10 more acronyms behind her name. So we're just thankful that, as the Bible says, to study to show yourself approved, a workman that can rightly divide the word of truth. Well, Sharon has studied and can help us this evening as we talk about stress. So let's get into it. Many people have been stressed as they navigate between parenting and caregiving, and some are doing both. Of course, at the same time, we're in the sandwich generation of taking care of parents, children. A lot of people are even taking care of grandchildren now, or other family members and friends. So, what suggestions do you have for people in that situation?
One of the first things I always say is look around and see what you have in terms of resources. So, always get help. I think a lot of times we try to do everything ourselves and we don't look at special programs. For example, at the senior center, if you're watching someone who is elderly, parent, grandparent, sometimes that's helpful to send them out during the day to a day program so that you do have some time to kind of do some things around the house, some time away, do some relaxation things. Also, with the young children, and get help. There are all types of programs. Care.com, for example, is a great resource if you just need an occasional babysitter or you need something more long term. So, again, getting help and trying to reduce your stress is probably one of the best resources that most of us could utilize, whether we're working with the elderly, the very young, like you say, the grandchildren, the children. Make sure everybody has their own space. That's important as well. So that you have your space, you can get away sometimes, go watch TV, read a book, do something. If you're all living in under the same roof, having a different space around the house is usually very helpful too.
Yeah, those are some good tips. And a lot of times we think that we have to spend money, to do
Mhm.
things to make our lives better, to get away. Everybody's, looking at people taking their vacations and they're like, oh, that's what I need. But sometimes, we have to learn how to navigate our stressors where we are in the moment. And some of it is, like you said, letting people know you need help. And
Mhm.
that seems like to be a big barrier, especially in the minority and in particular African American community, because we don't want people to know we need help, or it's some of it is based in shame. We're ashamed that we can't take care of our loved ones on our own and have to let people know. And I like what you said. It's senior centers, it's the day programs, it's daycare, and also it's support groups again for you as a caregiver. So whatever that looks like, just keep that in mind for everybody out there. So we're in this sandwich generation. We have all these stressors that are coming against us. One thing I just thought about, besides what about workplace stress?
Mhm.
Do you see a
Work,
lot of that in your practice, workplace stress?
yeah. So workplace stress has kind of crept back into our lives. During the COVID time, everybody was home. It was a little bit more of a relaxation. Now, people have to return to work. They feel as though they have unrealistic demands being placed on them in terms of deadlines, projects that they need to complete, just a lot of workplace stressors. And so, how do you take that time? So, now that we're getting towards the end of the year, I'm finding that many people have a lot of sick time they have not used, and it's kind of
Mhm.
use it or lose it. So I have a lot of people on my staff, for example, who are starting to figure out how they can take some sick leave, knowing that we only have, what, 7 weeks before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So again, you shouldn't wait to the end of the year. You should take it throughout. Everybody needs a mental health day here and there. So you
Mhm.
have to be really diligent and take your time throughout the year, especially when there's a lot of stress at work. I have a lot of clients who are using their EAP, Employees Assistance Program, a
Mhm.
lot of pilots right now, believe it or not, a lot of
Mhm.
flight attendants, the air traffic controllers. They are all coming because the workplace stress. Right now, it's the holidays coming up, and they have to perform. So again, it's and they have other things going on, maybe aging parents, young
Yeah.
children that will be out of school, illnesses within the family. So again, as we're kind of getting back into the swing of things, and folks are being required to come back into the office 2, 3, maybe even 5 days a week, it then becomes a big stressor on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That workplace stress is real. Like you said, people are fighting going back into the office, and
Mhm.
then when and even if they're not in the office, there is a workload, a work demand. We see it all everywhere we go. It's a shortage of help, of skilled labor. We're gonna say in the areas where sometimes you can't just have interim or entry level people. You have to have some people that really already kind of know what's going on. So that adds to the stress of the workplace too when you don't have enough staff or properly trained staff. So let's segue into this. Don't forget, put your questions in the chat, everyone. And we're so glad you're joining us. We're talking about how to handle your stressors. We know stress comes with life, and many of us are carrying a heavy load, and we need that help. So, is there a link then uh, between stress and our health?
Yes, indeed. So I took a minute just to look up some things, and I've talked to a
Mhm.
lot of people. Many things, major headaches. I talk to people and they say, "Oh, I had a headache last week." Headaches aren't something that should be a common occurrence. A lot of times, headaches are due to stress or some other type of health issue. So again, headaches, body aches, back pain, insomnia, can't sleep at night because we're so stressed about our next day, what that will look like. So there's a lot of health, high blood pressure, hypertension. So again, in our community, we have to realize that stress um, has been inherent, a part of our lives, but how much stress do we undertake? Trying to make ends meet, for example, financial stress. So
Yeah.
we get into all different types of stress, and our health tends to fail. Things like your eyesight, your dentist. When is the last time you had those appointments? So all of that is so relevant that you have to look at the relationship between the two. So all of a sudden you have serious pain, jaw pain, toothache. And you
Hmm.
say, why? Why? A lot of times it's stress. We're grinding our teeth at night when we're sleeping,
Yeah.
things of that nature. And we don't even realize it because we're asleep. So again, we have to be more aware. What is our blood pressure like? They have so many tools now online where you can order your own blood pressure cuff and take your blood
Hmm.
pressure daily. Many people should get into the habit of that. We don't drink enough water. We don't get enough sunlight. So all of those things combine
Yeah.
because of our stress, because we're trying to, you know, be on a kind of the treadmill of life, I call it. And we're just constantly moving from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And it causes stress. And all we need is one thing not to go right, a flat
Mhm.
tire, traffic in the morning or in the evening, just a call out of
Mhm.
office mate. And that throws our entire day off. A sick child, a sick parent, something happens. And so that again causes stress.
Yeah, and it's so many things, and we have to realize
Mm,
that uh, what may cause me stress may not cause another person stress. So
absolutely.
that's why that sometimes our family and friends don't understand what's going on with us because that's something that they do on a normal basis. It doesn't bother them. They work in a hectic environment. They're used to it. In fact, they thrive on that. But some of us don't thrive in that hectic, fast-paced environment, or we used to. But
Okay.
again, we had the COVID pandemic. A lot of
Mhm.
people got reoriented or changed, how they view work and life, and some of that has come into play. And of course, people want you to go back to your old self, and you're
Mhm.
like, "This is the new me. I relax now. I, I say no. I do different things
Mhm.
to reduce stress. I have boundaries." Now,
Right.
one of the viewers said, "I'm so thankful to join you all tonight. The Lord heard my cries, especially today. So I'm thankful." So that person is thankful because they need to know they're not alone, first of all,
Mhm.
and that there are things we can do about stress. So we hear about all our stressors: work, home, family, community, world, all that. Uh, do men and women handle their stress differently?
Not at all. There are some similarities, but there
Mm-hmm.
are also some differences. And again, it depends on the person. A lot of men will get very quiet, very withdrawn, very inward,
Mm-hmm.
may just watch TV, may not have a big conversation. Women, on the other hand, may become very chatty, may, reach out, call friends, call relatives, try to have a conversation with people about some of the stressors that they feel. They may also get very busy, go into the housekeeping mode or, organization mode, trying to get things neat. A part of just our makeup.
Mm-hmm.
We can't live on that kind of treadmill. So men and with women sometimes react very differently, and how they handle stress. Some women or men can become yellers. They start screaming. They kind
Mm-hmm.
of come unglued at the seams, so to speak. And so, with that, the person who is there, they could become, verbally abusive, stress, work stress. That we talk about road rage, for example. People
Yeah.
under stress, all of a sudden they're cut off and they just all of a sudden just really start to drive very erratically and things of that nature. So you see that a lot of times and you say to yourself, how could that be? Because people are under stress. And when people are under stress or duress, they're subject to say or do anything.
Mm.
And one of the things that we have to be conscious of is that sometimes we can't hold people accountable for their actions or what they may say when they're under stress. I work with a lot of different people, and so what I find is relationships sometimes will suffer
Yes,
because of
definitely.
stress,
Mm.
because men and women handle it very differently. Um, and
All right, we lost Dr. Sharon for a minute, but as she was saying, we all have our different ways of dealing with stress, and because of that, we may not see people acting in the manner in a way that we're
mhm,
used to seeing them. So,
mhm.
so, so those are some of the things. So, Dr. Sharon's back, so
Yes, I
you can,
disappeared there for a minute. Right.
yes,
So I was saying that men and women differ
mm-hmm,
in how they handle it. And so we can't necessarily hold people accountable
mm-hmm,
when they're under stress. They may say or do things that they may not even remember the next day because they're so stressed that they don't recall, they don't remember. And so I see lots of relationships. I deal a lot with couples, with families, where things just kind of come unglued in the household because people are under stress and they say things or do things. And, you know, everybody takes it to heart. They want to hold it. And so I think it's very important to, sometimes fall back a little bit, give
mm-hmm.
people a little room, space, be able to talk about it the next day. Maybe right then is not the best time, but later on is a better time. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good advice. Give people space because,
Mhm,
again, in the heat of the moment, we
mhm,
may say or do things that are unsettling to the other person,
mhm.
or even if we're at work, and these things can happen anywhere,
Yes.
anytime, because of the amount of stress. Now, one of the questions is, does living in constant stress cause long-term effects on our health?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Heart conditions,
Hmm.
insomnia, stomach issues, digestive issues, all of those things are a direct, can be a direct relationship um, due to stress. So we want to be very careful about us carrying the weight, on our shoulders,
Hmm.
back pain, stressors. It's some real life, concrete data to support that being stressed can definitely affect your health long term. Long term.
Yeah, and it can rewire your whole
Hmm.
system and how you respond to things. So we do have to be uh, aware of what our stressors are, which again, one person's stressor isn't another person's stressor. So that's why you have to take a look at your life and start noticing when you do get out of sorts, what kinds of things are happening
Hmm.
that cause you stress. And we know some of these things we can't control, but the things we can control, do more of that to help ourselves. And there's so
Hmm.
many ways we can handle our stress. But those long term effects, some are reversible and some are not, because our body has adjusted to this new norm that we're under pressure all of the time. So it is important to pay attention to any new aches and pains.
Hmm.
And again, it can mess your whole system up, as Dr. Sharon said, your vision, headaches,
Hmm.
uh, gastrointestinal problems, all problems from head to toe. So we want to make sure we're handling it. And one of it, we're getting ready to get into that. That's perfect. The other question is, what are the best coping mechanisms to handle stress? So that's actually our next question.
Coping mechanisms. So there's a lot of things. I think what most people are familiar with or have seen is the commercial that comes on television where they show the rain coming down and they say, do nothing for
Hmm.
60 seconds. And if
Yeah.
you ever see the commercial, that's the longest 60 seconds. It's
Hmm.
like, wow, that's a long time. So doing nothing, just calming, things that you enjoy, maybe reading, maybe taking a walk, maybe doing something, meditation, yoga,
Hmm.
anything physical, a lot of times will help you reduce your stress. And so I encourage people to get out and to do some things. It's beautiful outside. The leaves are beautiful. Get out early morning. Just go outside. Just stand for a second and look at the beauty of the neighborhood.
Hmm.
Look at the things and have an appreciation for that. So I think those are good ways to reduce your stress.
Hmm.
Anything that brings you calm, peace. Right now, as the holidays are coming, people are getting into decorating. So maybe it's, just taking a drive and go see the Christmas lights, or, something of that nature, just something very soothing for you. Sometimes it's just turning the lights off and sitting still
Hmm.
quietly for 5, 10 minutes. That will reduce your stress. Deep breathing exercises, always very, very helpful.
Yeah, and again, this is unique to yourself.
Hmm.
So some people, play video games.
Correct.
They re-
Music. Hmm.
Music is
Hmm.
definitely, a is healing, and you find your favorite playlist, put that
Hmm.
on, and chill, like you said, for 5 minutes or
Hmm.
30 minutes, how much every time you have. You can do some things simultaneously. You can be walking and listening to your music,
Absolutely.
or listening to a book. You could be on your way to work, say on the subway, but also be meditating. You
Hmm.
could just calm yourself or do some deep breathing. You're sitting there anyway. You could use that time to, you know, breathe, count to four, breathe, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So whatever you can do in the moment, because sometimes we'll hear people say, well, I'm going to the spa,
Hmm.
going here, I'm going there. And again, that's not always necessary or financially feasible to run to the spa for every time you need stress, or even, um, people like to shop. Some of
Hmm.
those add to our stressor. So we have to look at things that help us de-stress that won't cause us more stress.
Hmm. One of the other things that I didn't mention is journaling. Some people are very good at art, drawing, painting. Some people like to crochet, knit. So things of that nature. Whatever your hobby is, as long as it's something very positive. But journaling is one where you keep a notepad, maybe even before you go to bed at night, and just jot down, how was your day? What kinds of things concerned you? What kinds of things brought you lots of joy? What kinds of things do you want to work on tomorrow? Just jot those things down so you can take it out of your head, because a lot of times we go to bed with so much on our head. That's where the insomnia comes.
Mhm.
We lay there for hours before we can fall asleep because there's so many racing thoughts about what it is the next day. So journaling can be a very positive activity. It doesn't cost you anything. Get a nice journal from the dollar store
Mhm.
and keep your thoughts there. And one of the things that we also encourage is to have a therapist. Have somebody that you can talk to. So
Mhm.
once you have that journal, you can see your therapist every week, every couple weeks,
Mhm.
whatever works for your schedule. And then usually when I see someone, I say, how have you been? And so they can refer to their journal and say, well, a couple weeks ago, I was really concerned about X, Y, and Z. This week, not so much. So again, I think it's very helpful because we should journal our life. We should know where we've been. Most of us can't remember what happened last month, much less last week.
Yes.
So, keeping a little diary is very helpful.
Yeah, that's good. And also, some people use coloring books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's real popular. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to be an artist. Those that are great, and you do what you need to do. But it's really about another layer of creativity, using your brain in a different way to help yourself to relax. So even if it's dancing or any of those things that bring you joy, the more you do things that bring you joy and relaxation, the more you can handle the stressors, because stressors aren't going anywhere. We're going to all have them forever. It's just how you handle those stressors. And one question, I'm throwing in my own questions now. I made up the questions and I'm adding questions too. But when does when is it that stress can turn into anxiety, or
Mhm.
can stress lead us to depression?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So that's what I was referring to when I talk about like insomnia, talk about someone getting very quiet and withdrawn,
Mhm.
depression, not speaking to others, having angry thoughts, yelling,
Mhm.
inappropriate behaviors, going to other types of behaviors, gambling, for example. Many
Mhm.
people will go to the casinos because it's quiet, nobody's bothering them, they can be alone, and but that could be a very costly endeavor. Sometimes the negative behaviors creep
Right.
in. And so we want to make sure that we remain healthy, and not only our bodies but also our minds. And so yes, it can turn to depression, it can turn to anxiety, where we're always nervous and we always feel like something is going to happen.
Yeah.
What's next? It's always something. But again, life is forever changing. There is always going to be something, but it's how we handle it when it does come to us.
That's true. And I'm glad you brought in gambling and other
Mhm.
addictions
Mhm.
can sometimes rise in our lives when we're stressed, because it's
Mhm.
easier to go get the cigarette or start smoking
Yep.
again. We had stopped for 5 years and then COVID hit, so we had to go back
Mhm.
out and get cigarettes, or just different things that we do that are can add to our stress or to our health problems. So when we're looking at the effects of health and stress, we have to look at our mental health as well.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind. It doesn't only just impact your physical health, but stress can certainly impact your mental health. One of the questions from the audience, and don't forget to put your questions in the chat, and of course, call the Renaissance Center if you're interested in being able to talk to someone um, about your concerns. But how do you get your strength and energy back? You used all of you, with everything from the heavy load is wearing you down. So what suggestions do you have?
Appropriate diet,
Mhm.
appropriate rest, having a healthy environment.
Mhm.
So, again, making sure that we're totally balanced. Balance meaning we have to eat right, we have to get outside. Sunshine is very, very important for us.
Mhm. Mhm.
I know we all go to the doctor now. We all get prescribed for the vitamin
Vitamin
B,
D.
vitamin D, right? Because
Yes.
they say we don't have enough sun in our life now. When did
Mhm.
that occur? Somewhere that has happened to us now. So
Mhm.
again, having a healthy balance, spending time with family, friends, and sometimes you have to limit it. You can't,
Mhm.
Thanksgiving is coming, Christmas is coming, New Year's is coming. Maybe you don't need to be out every single holiday with family. Maybe that's too much of a stressor. Pick one, maybe. If that's going to be such a stressor for you, don't do it.
Mhm.
Having a quiet dinner at home, having quiet celebration at home, that may be more in line with where you are right now in your life. And
Mhm.
that's okay. That's okay. So, again, having a great balance is
Yeah.
something that we have to look at in order to maintain our mental health and our physical health.
Yeah, that's some great advice, especially with all of the holiday gatherings that we might want to go to, or even we can't do it all, and
Mhm,
we have to learn our boundaries and to say
mhm,
no.
mhm.
No, I'm not available. Things come up and at the last minute, so sometimes we have to be okay that we have to change our plans and be flexible and give yourself some grace. That's how you get your strength and energy back, because sometimes, you have to be honest with yourself. And a lot of us, I'm just going to say it, are people pleasers. So we
Mhm.
want to help people and be there for them. And we're, in the meantime, us helping them has taken all our energy. And then when we get back home or to work or wherever we need to be, we don't have anything left. And that's when the, attitudes come in and different things that we might have amongst our family members and friends. But say no, get rest when you can. We know we can't just sit around all day. Some people can, but most of us have errands and things like that. But find ways to cut back and conserve your energy. If you can,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I would just say it's tough, but
Mhm.
as we care give, we have children, we have other commitments. You're gonna have to say no.
Right.
That's it.
Plan accordingly. I think sometimes we put so much on our plate. We always say our eyes are bigger than our stomachs, and that
Mhm,
holds true for our plates, and it
mm,
also holds true for the things that we try to accomplish in our life. So
mhm,
we have to set some boundaries and some limits, as you said, and we
mhm.
have to constantly reevaluate. So
Yeah.
just because you did it last year doesn't mean you can do it this year. It does not. The world has changed. You have changed. You're a year older. It's
Mhm.
not possible sometimes to continue to do the things that you've always done. So sometimes doing something a little bit different is a good thing.
Yep. Yeah, and you have to be okay that others won't understand. Sometimes, again, it's not necessarily people pleasing, but we
Mhm,
don't want to let people down. And
mhm,
it's okay. People understand things change, things come up at the last minute, or even not. You're just decided that you're going to rest. And think about it this way: you can change your mind up until the time of the event.
true.
You don't, I know we don't like that if people back out, cut out on us, but we don't know what they're going through on their end and what their concerns are. And so sometimes people may, up until that moment, be planning to be there for you, or you be there for them, and they're not able to make it. So we need to uh, give ourselves grace and give others grace when they do have to back out, because they're trying to conserve their energy and manage their stress as well. What tips do you have for helping our children manage their stress and deal with their mental health issues?
I just spoke to some of my interns about this because next week there's a holiday. And one of the things that just happened, there's so much going on in our world. We have to realize that what goes on in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, our churches,
Mhm.
everywhere is a spillover. Our world is a really big place. So one of the things that just happened, the University of Maryland, for example, gave the students off the entire week next week. I think on
Mhm.
Monday they do virtual, on Tuesday they have no classes, and then they're off until the following Monday. And they told the students to take the time to reflect and to
Mhm.
recharge. And that's what we all need. We need that time to recharge because we can't keep running on our batteries and not recharge them. And
Mhm.
I thought that was a really powerful statement today that happened. And I told my interns, now you're working with a lot of children that will be home uh, Wednesday, some of them, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's more time than they've spent home in a while. And
Mhm.
so there may be different people in the home. There may be lots of, their parents may be home with them. And so sometimes tension arises. If you ever
Mhm.
notice the, the crime rate and things kind of go up because
Mhm.
people seem to have conflict. And a lot of times
Yes.
the youth are right there in the middle of that. And so I say, how do we keep them? It's that we have to communicate with them. Are you okay? Is there anything you want to do, during your time off? Because they're away from their friends typically. They
Mhm.
see their friends 5 days a week, but now they won't have 5 days a week with their friends. So, still having them have a social outlet, maybe they want to go to the mall or to the movies or have a friend over. So, again, be mindful of that. Their world has changed. And again, when the holidays come like that, their routine has changed. Maybe they have to go to another parent's home. So maybe
Mhm.
mom has custody, but dad has them on the holiday. And so here we go. They're very conflicted on having to go somewhere and be away from their room, their things, their friends. And
Yeah.
so be mindful of that. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of responsibility is left on our children, on our youth. And so
Yes.
again, watch your younger brother. I'm going to go shopping, or I'm
Mhm.
going to go cook, or I'm going to run out for a while with some friends. So just be mindful of our expectations of the youth are.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's
That's
a
really
lot that can
great.
happen.
That's
Mm-hmm,
a lot right
mm-hmm,
there to unpack
mm-hmm,
because we're as adults sometimes expecting the children and youth, even our young adults, to be uh, more responsible than they may have the ability to
mm-hmm,
be. And it may not be fair for us to assume that them being at home 5 days with us is good because they're used to being away with their friends. And sometimes that's a stressor. They're kind of like, oh my goodness, mom and dad are going to be home. What am I going to be doing? They're going to be like in my room, on my case. Those kinds of things could add stress to children. So we wonder again what's going on with the kids. Sometimes we add to their stress. I know as adults we don't like to feel that way, but we have to be mindful of our role in their behavior.
mm-hmm.
So this is something again, this is look, we're going to do parenting sometime soon, but we have a role in how our kids act out or don't act out in some ways. So we need to keep that in mind. And I like that they that their stress is a little different from our stress, but it's still stress. And the same tips that Dr. Sharon gave us, the children can do. They can color. They can play their games. They can call friends. They can journal. They can do meditation, yoga, and deep breathing as well. So these are some things as parents that we can teach the children so that they can be okay. And they have the yoga classes for kids. So
Mhm.
you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Things are already there. We just need to connect our children to those programs and resources that are in the community. So that's amazing. Let's see if we have another question, another comment. People really needed this and appreciate this discussion because we're all carrying heavy loads.
Okay.
One thing beyond caregiving that we noticed during the pandemic is that, again, as people became ill with
Mhm.
COVID or other illnesses, a lot of people, it was caregiving on the spot. Nobody even knew what to do. And the stressors that come with either short term caregiving or even long term, whether the person's in your home or, like you said, they're
Mhm.
at a facility and you have to visit them. What tips do you have when you're kind of thrust for people that are thrust into a caregiving situation suddenly, that it wasn't like something that happened
What's
over
right?
time? Yeah.
Mhm. Take yourself and please get organized.
Mhm.
Determine what you can realistically do.
Okay.
I get calls all the time, and the people say, I can't do my job. I can't do such and such because my grandmother is sick. And I say, I understand your grandmother is sick. And what role will you take in helping your grandmother get well? So, again, don't put everything on your back and try to carry it because that's kind of inherent who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that you can only go from 9 to 12 to see grandma, then say, I can only go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you have to do, develop a schedule. Ask for help. See who else can possibly, your other siblings, if you're an only child, maybe cousins or
Mm-hmm.
someone that can help you care for whomever all of a sudden you're now caring for. Again, you have to still take care of yourself. You still have to make time to take care of you. And if that means going to have a pedicure, men and women, go and sit down for an hour and just do nothing but
Mm-hmm.
take care of you. So again, it's the small things, and we have to look at it and really put it in perspective with our lives. We
Mm-hmm.
can't do everything we were doing and that and this and that because
Right.
it's called overload. And when we get overloaded, we become unglued, we become unwired, and then we'll become out of control. That's why our ER visits are so high because all
Mm-hmm.
sudden now we're in crisis. A small thing for us has turned into something major. We realize that we haven't eaten in 3 days because we're so busy
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to care for grandma. So again, we still have to take care of ourselves and we have to put everything into perspective.
Yeah, that's good because we are sometimes neglecting ourselves, which
Mhm.
adds to our stressors, and that's why it's important to make sure you have all of your medical appointments, like Dr. Sharon mentioned earlier. We forget to go get our eyes checked or even go to the dentist or some of the things that help us to do what we need to do and strengthen ourselves, or we might uh, be on medication and don't take it properly, or
Mhm.
it's just different things that we have to make these adjustments, and it's really for the best because we want to be there for ourselves as well as for other people, because if we get compromised, if we get sick, if our stress overtakes us, then we can't, be there for others. And one thing, you just do the best you can do. You
Mhm.
can't do it all. Like what Dr. Sharon said, if you can go 3 days a week for a couple hours, that's all you can do. You can't feel bad that nobody else came, nobody else signed up, nobody cooked a meal. You did what you could do in the amount of time. So this is just like a funny thing to me, but I wanted to go visit a family member, but I just didn't have time. So
Mhm.
I like to bake. That's a stress reliever for me. So I made something and I just mailed it to him. Look, I couldn't get there. And the baked good tastes just as good mailed and deliver it as if I would have bought it to him. But some things you just have to find a shortcut. Because I was like,
Mm.
how do I get there? I don't have time. The traffic. It was the Beyonce concert. I mean, it was all these different things I had to consider, but mailing was the solution. So sometimes we have to find solutions to even our good things we want to do that
Mhm.
we might not be able to be there in person, but we could always send people the things that we wanted them to have, or even arrange for other people to be there for them. Um, that's someone commented, taking time out to listen to this is a form of de-stressing. Yes, because you got to do some self-care. This is self-care too. We didn't even, that's a whole separate topic, but this is what uh, learning about stress is helping you to do self-care. How do you manage and control panic attacks, and when do you know if
Mhm.
you need medication for them? Because again, sometimes stressors lead to panic attacks.
That is absolutely right. And so you have to know your body. And you have to realize what's happening to you. So when you have heart palpitations, heart is racing, chest pains, get very anxious, things of that nature, then you realize that you need to do something different. That's a wake up call.
Mhm,
And so it's like having chest pains and knowing that you're susceptible to having a heart attack. So either you keep running on that treadmill and probably will have a heart attack, or you say, whoa, I better get off and slow down and evaluate what's going
mhm.
on in my life right now that's causing me to have these kind of panic attacks.
Right.
Deep breathing, going back, sitting down quietly, really working with someone. That's when I would say you want to talk to someone, whether it's a
Mhm,
therapist, whether it's a really good friend. You need someone where once you get to that point and you're having those kind of major, and that can turn into health issues. That goes back
mhm,
to our previous questions. You need help. You need help,
mhm,
because if you continue on that path, it's
mhm.
not going to be good. It's not going to
Yeah.
be, and you're not going to be able to help anyone else. That's the thing. So if you're out there helping other people and having that kind of reaction because you're overwhelmed, then you
Mhm.
may not need to do as much as you've been doing.
Yeah, and it's okay to cut back and
Mhm.
to do things. And usually, the medication for panic attacks is like you take it in the midst of it, so it lessens
Mhm.
the impact of it. So it's not something you take every day. It's you take it in the midst of it,
Mhm.
unless the doctor is giving you an anti-anxiety medicine. But
Mhm.
but again, this is what I tell people: panic attacks don't last long.
Right.
So it's like you gotta, and you know when they're coming.
Mhm.
So if you're a person that suffers from this is a serious condition, but usually you'll know what it is that's going to set you off.
Mhm.
And in that moment of recognizing, I saw a black vehicle,
Mhm.
that's my thing. You gotta start going into self-care mode. Okay, it's just a car. It's not going to hurt me. It's nothing's going to happen. You really have to practice awareness of your trigger, and then start telling yourself it's going to be good. And then say if none of that works, and you start going into your panic attack. Okay, this not going to last that long. You know, we're not going to go. You really, that's how I feel like you could approach it if you're able to do that. So we know sometimes you can't talk yourself through it. You go
Mhm.
through it, and then you can say, okay, how did I get here again? But that's what
Mhm.
Dr. Sharon is saying. You
Mhm.
don't want to keep going there because it can impact your physical health and
Mhm.
lead to your heart racing, sweating, all of the signs that could, lead to a actual health incident. So it's serious. So people that have them, make sure you bring that up with your doctor and just figure out your triggers. If it's the
Mhm.
black vehicle driving down the street and it reminds you of whatever, that's real, but it's just something that we have to be able to separate. Is this threat real?
Mhm.
Is it a imminent threat, or is it just in our minds that this is something that's a threat, that's an imminent threat. So, but that's challenging. Again, that's like Dr. Sharon said, that's when you need to get some regular treatment and help as well. How can people get through the holidays? Wait a minute, I have one question. I know I had my own, but let me go back to the questions from the audience. How can I help a loved one who cycles through manic episodes during the
Mhm.
holidays?
Mhm. How you can help them is to get them to really talk about what's on their mind. So when a person becomes manic, they're just at a high level of stress. And so, how do you reduce some of that stress for them? So, if it's delivering the holiday dinners, and that's when they get, I got to do so much, then how can I help you? Sit them down, get them calm, try to talk to them, develop a plan of action. That's the most important thing, because people do become very manic because they want to accomplish so much in a
Mhm.
short period of time. It's only one day. And I tell you, that day is just so big for them, it becomes overwhelming. So, really try to do some serious, how can I help you? Let's take this apart. Let's look at it. Let's split and divide here.
Yeah, it sounds like you said before, planning.
Hmm.
If think about it. You said this happens during the holidays. So this isn't new behavior for your loved one. So sometimes we ignore these cycles and just deal with it. But like you said, you want to approach it. So if things have worked in the past to help them through this, you definitely want to try that. But also, like you said, sit down, talk with the person. How can I help? We don't want you to, get yourself worked up. Let's make a plan. Um, you know, we know this is a time where people do get excited and cycle in and out of certain episodes, but it's also, is your person on medication? These are
Hmm.
things we don't talk about, but you need to know, because you need to know, are they currently taking it?
Hmm.
Have they been to their uh, psychiatrist lately, or psychiatric nurse practitioner, or whoever prescribes it, because they might, you know, need that as well. But again, planning and sitting and knowing the person, you already know the trigger. It's the holidays.
Hmm.
So you already know they're going to be hyped up and running around and you won't be able to find them because they're at the 24-hour Walmart
Mm-hmm.
and they've been there for 8 hours, doing
Right.
whatever they do. So that's the part. So it is, and then get help. Don't be the only one trying to work with the loved one.
Mm-hmm.
I know when people in the manic phase, a lot of people like, I'm not going to bother them. They're, doing the most. But if you get some help to help settle the loved one down, I think that would help as well.
Right.
So
And
our last question, which kind
mhm.
of we can wrap up, it goes with the holidays. How can people get through the holidays and minimize their stress?
Mhm. And again, it's planning.
Planning. I
Planning.
love it.
Biggest word I'm going to say is planning. So
Planning.
we know that it's X amount of days between
Mm-hmm.
now and Thanksgiving, X amount of days between now and Christmas Eve or Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Day or New Year's Day. Don't wait till the night before. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I know many of us are tempted to just
Mm-hmm.
wait for the big sale, wait for people to come and help. They never show up. Go ahead and start planning.
Yeah.
Planning now. I drove by one of the local dentists or doctor's office and they had a big Santa Claus up already. I said, oh my goodness. And then I said, well, it's only 6 weeks away. So
It'll be
they
here
were
before we
obviously
know it.
planning.
They were
Right.
planning. They were planning.
They were planning. So that's the word I'm going to end
Okay.
with is plan. Please start planning now and reduce your stress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And part of planning is sticking to a budget, being reasonable. You don't have to have 20 side dishes and all that. You know, look at your menu. It's ways
Mm-hmm.
to cut costs. And always, you can sometimes get other people to bring items. You could do a gift exchange instead of everybody getting a gift. It's just ways that add to our stress that we're used to from our traditions, that we can't always keep everything from the past traditions because we have to plan,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to plan according to our time and our budget. And those types of things will help decrease our holiday stress. Planning, budgeting, and saying, and also saying no. So we still have no. We have to practice saying no because that would be a big help. And can you believe our hour has already gone by? For those of you that joined us, we're so thankful that you joined Dr. Sharon and myself for this evening. You can contact the Renaissance Center at
Mm-hmm.
410-409-0025, or go to our website, www.therenaissancecenter.org. We're so grateful that you joined us this evening. And of course, if you have any topics you would like us to address, let us know by calling us at 410-409-0025. Um, yeah. So real quick, one person has stress at night because her mother, who has dementia, may or may not sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, it's some things you have to still plan.
Yes.
I
And
you know
get help.
Get help.
Only a couple days a week. Have
Mhm,
another relative come. Have hire someone just to sit for a couple of hours so you can get a good night's sleep because
mhm.
someone else will take over that night shift. That's
Yes.
the best advice. Yes,
Yeah.
couple days.
Get
Mm,
some help. It's
yes.
yeah. So, and it's not easy all the time, but we need to see who we can get and utilize those persons. And again, a lot of times between shame and
Mm-hmm.
and all those things that keep us from reaching out, So we're glad you brought that up because that is a big issue when you're a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So, but our time is up, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next month at our afternoon of caring and sharing. Is anyone who's had any losses over the past year or couple years, loss of employment, health challenges, loss of loved ones, pets, um, unemployment issues, things that have concerned you, even health concerns, you can register online at www.therenaissancecenter.org or give us a call. The date is December the 16th at from 1 to 3 p.m. It's in person and virtual. So you let us know which way you plan to attend, but it's from 1 to 3 on December 16th. See you then. Have a great evening.
Bye.